On a Wednesday morning. I'm Art Lewis. Nice to have you with us today. Later on, after the 10 o'clock news, we'll talk to Shanti Appello from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. March was National Nutrition Month, and we want to talk to her about particularly nutrition for youngsters. That'll be coming up, and then after that conversation, we'll have some time for open lines in the 10 o'clock hour. And at 11 o'clock, Midland Roofers will be the subject on Focus. But for this hour, and you've heard us talk about it this morning, it is another big day for NASA and space exploration, because today, theoretically, this evening, the Artemis takes off with 4 astronauts to circle the moon, which we haven't done in a long, long time. We're going to talk about that and other heavenly things this morning. With the director of the Delta Planetarium, we say good morning to Mike Murray.
Well, good morning to you.
Good to see you, Mike.
Good to be here.
So how exciting is it for an astronomer?
Oh, boy. I'm going to date myself right off the bat and say I grew up watching the Apollo moon program.
Well, you weren't alone.
And there we go. We got to stick together.
Yeah,
and so,
old folks.
what was the most exciting moment of my childhood was watching us actually leave Earth for the first time and go to the moon. And it wasn't just a political stunt. And this isn't either. This is a lot about building up the infrastructure, the architecture. So we're excited.
I do think there's been a change, though. Here's what I mean, and not necessarily in a good way. Back in the day, we go back to the 90s and the very first shots, Gemini and Alan Shepard revolving around the Earth for 15 minutes, and every word he spoke was transcribed and recorded.
Right.
And everybody watched. And through the 90s, and particularly as we led up to the moon landing, every television set was on. Mm-hmm. Everybody watched or listened, or one way or another was intrigued by it.
In the 60s, actually.
In the 60s.
Yeah. It was, a while now.
Yeah. 69, I guess, was the landing.
The first one, yes.
Yeah. And today, I'm not sure that fascination still exists. I think it does with a lot of people, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But not the universality of it, mainly because spaceflight got to be so common, Mm-hmm. The only time we paid any attention was when there was a disaster all of a sudden.
Right.
And spaceflight is inherently dangerous.
And it still is.
And it still is. No guarantees.
Now, the space shuttle program was really mainly a cargo ship to take astronauts and satellites and build the space station. It did. It made space feel routine. It didn't have that excitement of pioneering, going somewhere for the first time, even though there was a lot of pioneering science going on and still is on the International Space Station. But this idea of being able to go further and deeper out into space, to do more exploration with or without astronauts, we need to see a resurgence of that because we're still in the early days, the buggy days of space exploration.
I'm really not sure how I feel about man going to Mars right now.
That's not going to happen for a while.
It's going to be a long while. I don't think I'll be around to see it, but I'm really not sure how I feel about it. I know when Kennedy announced the mission to the moon, that we will do it by the end of this decade and all that, I was excited.
Oh, everyone felt it as a national imperative.
First of all, you can look up and see it. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
You can photograph it. And so it held some fascination. And watched every minute of everything I could find on it. Because there was a time in my life, I may have mentioned this before, I don't remember. There was a time in my life when I actually considered astronomy as a vocation. And I used to go down to the Hayden Planetarium in New York all the time.
Mm-hmm. Good place.
It was a fabulous, big place, and they had that huge multi-arm projector with the big balls on the end with all the lenses and everything.
Right, the star machines. And there are still some of those around.
So what do you don't use that at the planetarium, though? You have projection?
Right. Now that everything has gone into digital projection, that completely transformed planetariums. They've become immersive, dynamic 3D theaters.
So, that's interesting. I'm wondering, I can remember what it was like to sit through a star show at Hayden.
Mm-hmm.
If that same star show were to be shown at Delta's planetarium, would I see much of a difference?
When it comes to recreating a copy of the nighttime sky, it feels about the same, and that's still a very
how
inspiring.
You're putting it up there.
But imagine being able to turn that into a three-dimensional universe and fly out off the Earth and into the galaxy, up close to other stars, planets, galaxies, and that is an incredibly experiential feeling.
Don't make me regret my career choice, please.
Well, it's funny because through the 60s and the excitement and inspiration of the space program, you had almost overnight kids wanting to be either test pilots or sports figures to astronauts. Almost every kid I knew, a lot of my friends were like, I want to be an astronaut. But we find out that it's very, very select. It's very difficult.
Yeah, first you become a good test pilot, then we'll talk about
it. It used to be that. That used to be the way it started.
That's the way you got in, Most of them were test pilots. Some scientists, as they began to include more science, they began to include scientists on these missions. So this mission, which we have not done in a long time, is going to circle the moon, and it's going to go a little. I mean, they're saying they're going to travel about 250,000 miles total.
Yeah, so the way that this trajectory is planned, it's not quite like what the Apollo 8 orbital did in 1968. This is on a free return trajectory, which means it won't actually slow down and drop into lunar orbit. It's going to loop around the backside of the moon.
So does it not use lunar gravity?
Oh, absolutely.
It's got to use it, right? Otherwise it's gone.
Absolutely. And in fact, what I mean by a free return trajectory means that they don't even have to use their rockets when they come close to the moon. The gravity and the position of the spacecraft will naturally loop it into an ellipse and have it come back to the Earth automatically.
Will they? That's like a slingshot almost.
Essentially,
gravity slingshot.
That's what Apollo 13 had to do when their oxygen tank exploded.
Yeah, right.
And they had no way of firing up the engine. They put themselves on a free return trajectory.
Yeah. So what do they learn from this? I mean, we're doing it. We know how to do it. We've done it before.
Mm-hmm.
What do we learn by doing it again?
This is all new technology, and it also allows astronauts to stay up longer. It's also going to be a test bed for future missions that might even, of course, set up bases on the moon, but go beyond asteroids, for instance. And so this is a lot of the architecture that needs to be tested and worked out so that we can finally get beyond the Earth again.
Because this is the first of these Artemis.
So
and then number 4 is going to be a lunar landing.
Correct.
Right?
Probably in 28 or 29 is when Artemis 4 will land.
From an astronomer's standpoint, we all know what the Eagle looked like that landed. We've seen dozens and dozens of images over the years. What do you think the new lunar lander is going to look like?
There's still this competition going on between SpaceX and Blue Origin, the Google company, and the idea of which will win the contract based on being able to satisfy the requirements. I find it really interesting that SpaceX wants to use that giant Starship tall rocket to try to land on a soft, low-gravity lunar. Now, they have the technology, they say, to do it. But for me,
I'm not going to think negatively about anything SpaceX does.
No.
They've proven themselves.
I just want to see how that's going to work.
I mean, it's fascinating. The part that fascinates me today the most is not the launch. It's the recovery of that booster that comes down and lands on a platform or gets chopsticked by the tower as it lands. You just shake your head.
Look it up on YouTube. It's called Starship.
Yeah.
And if you look at some of the launches that they're still testing, is the huge super booster underneath the Starship falls
that's the biggest
back.
Booster ever. Yeah,
and
gets captured.
Gets
reused. Well, they've reused their rockets many times.
Imagine how much money you'd save by refurbishing that. He's already been doing that with the Falcon 9.
That's why he's got all those contracts.
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really is. Take a break, come back. We're talking to Mike Murray from the Delta Planetarium. If you have any questions about space, this will be a good time to ask. 989-752-6111. See if we can include you in the conversation.
Grab a 2026.
Back with you in studio with me, Mike Murray, director of the Delta Planetarium. Does the planetarium get involved in these launches anyhow, in any way? Do you show anything? Or?
Oh, absolutely. Now, we may not always have a live event, but we always capture and provide a lot of resources so people know where to go and look. In fact, I even brought a list of all the places people can watch online. NASA has, of course, all kinds of presence on YouTube.
Well, they have a YouTube channel. They say they're going to be live from 12:10 this afternoon till liftoff at 6:24.
That's right.
And then they're going to continue live throughout the entire mission.
Mm-hmm. And there's NASA TV, which you can get on as well. And they have streams that are on their Facebook pages, and they do a Twitch channel, too. So there's lots of ways to watch.
What are we going to see? I mean, you see a rocket, it takes off. Yeah, it's lots of flames, lots of noise. It's up there, it's gone, and then we wait to see what's next. Once in a while, if we're lucky, we get inside the capsule and see the crew sitting there doing nothing.
So actually, they are doing a lot, even though it may not look like it. Every minute is something of significance during a mission, and things are rehearsed for, in this case, almost 3 years. Mm-hmm. They've been practicing, training, rehearsing. Some of it, of course, is like what an airline pilot gets trained for, which is not how to fly so much as what to do when something goes wrong.
Yeah.
But there is an enormous amount of training in order to take information. They're going to be doing experiments. They're going to be running all of this equipment through the ringer in order to make sure that things can be working properly, but also improved upon.
Yeah, it's kind of different today, too, looking at the inside of those capsules. They got big TV screens in front of them.
Yeah.
Lots of gauges, It's
That's
really,
right.
It really is different.
Some people have asked, how did they do that in the 60s when they didn't have, all of the microelectronics? Well, one of the things that did benefit the Apollo program, between Mercury and Apollo came solid state technology, and that helped to miniaturize a lot of things. Yeah. A lot of things we enjoy today, for example.
Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo.
Correct.
Yeah. But the thing about the moon landings and the technology back then, in this phone I'm holding in my hand, there is more computing power than what they used to land on the moon.
That's right. And, people have asked, how was that even possible? Well, they baked a lot of the programming right into the hardware instead of having to call a whole bunch of things up out of memory like we do on our computers.
Early automation.
It was essentially early automation, and it simplified things, and the technology was good enough to do that in those days. But it was pioneered at that time, one of the thousands of benefits we got out of the Apollo program.
Well, that's one of the reasons, when I go back to what I said earlier, that people were fascinated, because it was brand new. And how did they do it? And wow, it had a wow factor.
Pioneering.
I'm not sure today we have that wow factor anymore. I mentioned the landings of the boosters and things. Yes.
You'd be surprised. At the planetarium, we're seeing enormous interest. There is still
That's good.
The DNA of humans is exploration and discovery and curiosity and looking. And, you can't take that out of us, even in troubled times, which was happening in the 60s, just almost as bad as now. And so these things are still a part of who we are.
Well, it's always a wonderment. What are they going to find? What are they going to see?
Mm-hmm. The unknown.
The unknown. Yeah. And it is, as much as we've penetrated it with telescopes and everything else, it is still pretty much unknown.
I think that's a part of the fascination, is you've got that mystery and the thrill of discovery. And a lot of times it's the process. It's the finding out that's exciting. It's not about just going out and gathering a bunch of data and statistics. It's what is it out there that we haven't discovered yet? And how does that change our view, not just of the universe, but of ourselves? Because it's a human endeavor.
I always thought it would be fun to go on a space flight. Now, I'm not paying hundreds of $1,000s for Blue Origin or whoever to shoot me up there, but I always thought that it would be an interesting experience.
You know, I've spoken with a number of astronauts because during the 80s, I was running a planetarium in Orlando. So we had a chance to see lots of astronauts, bring them in for lectures and such, right? And it was really fun to ask them about what it was like during a shuttle launch because, you know, the main engines start first, and then those big solid rocket boosters light up. And John Young, who also walked on the moon, by the way, told me, he said, well, you know, you feel the vibration of those main engines and you know you're getting ready. But he said when those solid rocket boosters go off, you get slammed into the back of your seat. And it kind of surprised him.
Yeah, well, yeah, I would be surprised.
To put it mildly, right?
We had, back in the, this would have been early 90s, we had a space research area here called Season. Bob Traxler brought it in.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the astronauts, Jack, I can't remember his last name.
Jack Lousma?
Lousma, yes, Jack Lousma. I became a friend, and we chatted a lot about what it was like in space and everything.
He was supposed to go to the moon.
He lived in Ann Arbor and used to go down there and grab lunch with him and stuff. And it was a neat time, but unfortunately, what happens in the political world, when the guy controlling the dollars says, we're going to build this in my district, they build it. When he's out of office, bye-bye.
Right.
You know, because we had Season, we had a supercomputer for the EPA, we had a research vessel docked in Bay City, all because Bob Traxler was the head of the committee that funded all that stuff. But it all disappeared. And the interesting thing about it, there was a huge debate and controversy when Bob brought Season to town. They wanted 25% of the university's land to build on.
Oh, my gosh.
And they wanted it deeded over to him. And at the time, the president of the university, Eric Gilbertson, his reaction was, and that's what they send university presidents to prison for. Because they wanted it, and, you know, if Season disappeared or failed, as it happened, they still held the university's land. It's not the university's anymore.
Oh, I understand.
So Season ended up being placed in a building on the south side of the campus. And they were there for maybe 2 years, 3 years.
Okay. Well, you know, Bob also was instrumental in getting the money from NASA to build the Delta College Planetarium.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I know that. Yeah.
And we're very grateful for that because it has served as an amazing resource.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story about it. Bob, this was in, I don't know, 90, 91, somewhere in there. My wife and I were visiting, and we were in his office in Washington. And he had called NASA asking them to bring just a small model of the International Space Station that he could put on a credenza in his office.
Sure.
While we were there, these two guys showed up with this huge wooden crate. And they started unscrewing it and taking it apart. Inside, NASA had built a multi-$1,000 model of the International Space Station.
Well, where is it? I want to put it in the planetarium.
It wasn't this big. It was credenza wide, you know.
Gotcha.
I mean, and Bob looked at it and he says, no. It stayed, but I'll never forget that, the look on his face when
that thing arrived.
That box arrived.
Where am I going to put it?
But anyway, it's great memories. I think fondly of watching all those space shots and everything.
all of what's happened in the space program has led up to this moment. The idea of building an beyond the Earth architecture has been around for a long time. In fact, it should have been built before the shuttle program ended in 2011. But like you mentioned, there's politics, there's funding, and so now that we've had a chance to go through several iterations of what this rocket might look like, we're finally there. But even the Artemis program is an intermediate step. It's still very expensive, and it still is going to require a lot of extra resources. But the idea is after Artemis 5 to transition to probably something more focused on private industry contractors. So whether that's SpaceX or Blue Origin, whoever, that is probably what you're going to see happening.
Well, it was interesting because when the shuttle program finally shut down, there was nothing on the other side. What's your next project?
Yeah, they were in a hurry to close it.
It took a long time to come up with contracts that brought in those third parties.
Mm-hmm.
And which was smart. I mean, it's cost saving. Here's a company that's figured out how to reuse their boosters.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever thought of that?
And a lot of people give credit to Elon Musk for that, but actually the idea and the testing for that had actually happened years and years and years earlier. He took it and ran with it in his design.
That's the thing. I mean, you can test it all you want, but if you don't have the wherewithal to build it, big deal. But nothing stood in his way.
Well, and look at what he's done with his Falcon 9s. One of them just broke a record, having flown now over 30 times.
Yep.
That's an amazing record.
Well, he builds them like an airplane, designed to fly again.
Exactly.
So, and listen, that's going to bring the cost into a acceptable range.
Oh yeah.
Got to take a break. We're talking to Mike Murray, director of the Delta Planetarium. We'll talk about some other things going on at the planetarium and in space. When we return, let me talk about something a little closer to home: potholes. We live in Michigan, and I've come across a few of them myself already this season, and they can really play havoc with your car's alignment. And alignment is very important to your automobile. I've asked John from Quick Lane Freeland to tell us why alignment is so important.
If your vehicle's wheels are aligned correctly, it will not pull to the left or to the right when driving. It also prevents improper tread wear, so your tires last longer. A wheel alignment should be checked often because normal steering wear and tear can cause your alignment to go out in addition to potholes and railroad crossings. A correct alignment also reduces rolling resistance on your tires for better fuel mileage.
Thank you, John. A couple of things about that. First of all, if you'd like to have your alignment checked, Quick Lane Freeland is offering a complimentary alignment check, and they'll let you know what kind of shape your alignment is in. Also, if you need new tires, they sell all their tires at just $5 over cost. So there's good reasons to visit Quick Lane Freeland in Freeland. Complimentary alignment check, tires at just $5 over cost. All part of the McDonald Ford complex on M47 in Freeland. Stop out today. You'll be glad you did.
Gotta go.
Controlled moderate to severe Crohn's disease symptoms and still packing up.
Back with you. We're talking to Mike Murray, director of the Delta College Planetarium. If you have any questions about space or space travel, you want to ask Mike a question, give us a call at 989-752-6111. We were just talking during the break. What's AI going to mean to the space program?
That is one of the many benefits that AI can be applied to. There's a lot that could be done, for instance, for detecting the health of systems, of also to help in terms of monitoring trajectory. A lot of experiments would become a lot more efficient, a lot more productive using AI. So these are just some great examples of where AI can really shine.
Is the capsule of today more automated than ever in that the astronauts have less to do while they're sitting there waiting to get where they're going?
They still have a lot of assignments, and they will be performing a lot of tests. But yes, there is a lot of automation. Actually, there was a lot of automation even in the Apollo program. but the astronauts still had to monitor, test, and make sure that and confirm that a lot of those commands were being done correctly.
Yeah, but that's really what a test pilot does. Take a brand new airplane, take it up and see what works and what doesn't work and how to fix it.
Take it to its limits.
Take it to its limits, sometimes scary limits.
Yeah, those were not really great days for test pilots, from the 40s to the 60s.
Speed of sound and all
you
that
couldn't
stuff.
get life insurance.
Yeah. That would have been a problem, actually. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So this is the first Artemis mission.
Manned, crewed mission. The Artemis 1 was an unmanned test.
Well, that's, okay,
but then
that's
Artemis
true.
2, sorry, I'm being technical.
It is Artemis. It is Artemis 2, you're right.
So, this is the first time we've put a crew on it, essentially duplicating the orbital trajectory of Artemis 1, but this time they're going to be able to do a lot more with astronauts on board.
Like what?
When they can actually test themselves for a lot of medical situations, there's a lot more equipment in the capsule now that they're going to be assessing, testing, looking at data, making changes. They're going to do a lot of manual movements with the Orion spacecraft. So they're not just going to sit there.
I have to assume, bad word, but I have to assume then the Orion is a lot roomier than previous spacecrafts.
A little bit. Not by a lot, unfortunately. It is big enough now to hold 4 astronauts instead of 3. You still have to get really creative if you want to get into your sleeping bag. They got to move into certain positions and places in the capsule. But, hey, it's cozy.
I guess that's one way to put it. You have to have a certain psyche to be able to put up with that for what? For them, 9 days?
10 days. Yeah,
10
exactly.
Days, yeah. And be in that cramped. It's no place for anybody who's queasy about being confined.
Well, not only that, you better not care about privacy either.
No, yeah,
so
that's
it's like,
true.
okay, I'm going to get underneath your couch and go to the bathroom, so hold your nose.
Oh, well, we'll take a break, and we will be back with Mike Murray from the Delta Planetarium.
Death has been defeated in Jesus.
Back with you. We're talking to Mike Murray, the director of the Delta College Planetarium. So aside from Artemis, well, let's start with Artemis. What are you going to be doing with Artemis in the planetarium?
We will definitely be sharing footage. We'll also be posting all kinds of information if you want to get online and watch it live, because the launch window begins tonight at 6:24 p.m. That's Eastern time, of course, and it will last for 2 hours. So even if it doesn't launch right at the minute, they'll have another 120 minutes to work out any issues.
And then they have some acceptable windows after that for a few days.
Correct. All through April 6th.
Then they have to wait for another window to come along.
Right.
So what else is happening at the planetarium? Tell us about some of the shows you're doing.
We are really thrilled with a new show that we just opened last month. It's called Celestial Symphony. And yes, it is a grand tour of the universe, 3D visuals, but it's set to classical music. And it has some information that you get to see along the way, but most of it is a musical and artist's journey, if you will, through the cosmos.
Are these the kind of programs that the planetarium has to create, or are there suppliers out there that write planetarium programs?
There are now a lot of high-end producers that are creating content for the Dome, which didn't happen for the longest time because, planetariums used to be kind of unique in their technology. They had banks of slide projectors and special effects projectors that you'd make. Now, because of the digital age, some incredible production values are going into planetarium shows, and they're not even all on astronomy necessarily.
What else are you doing?
Oh, we have a show called Mysteries of the Great Lakes. There's
really?
We have a show about looking for life on other worlds, which is of course sort of related. That fits. There's shows on the cells of the human body that are available to school groups, so we can cover other disciplines.
How often do you have public showings?
Currently, we run public shows on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. And the music shows, Celestial Symphony, and of course, Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, classic favorite, Fridays and Saturday nights.
So you're busy.
We have a lot of fun. We like to offer a good variety.
And cost to attend?
We've kept it at $7 for adults, $5 for kids, students, seniors, military.
And do you have a store?
We absolutely do. And in fact, we're excited to be able to expand on that, the gift shop that we have there, because we've been able to get a lot more inventory and get a lot more creative with some of the merchandise. And it's not all expensive. There's a lot of great stuff in there for kids and families.
All part of it. My only question is, are they ever going to repaint the upside-down popcorn holder?
But the red and orange is hydrogen.
Well,
it has an astronomical theme.
I understand all that. I just remember when they built that thing.
Well, now,
said, hey, it's a popcorn
do you
container.
remember that the colors were different when they first painted
Yes.
it? And that was a mistake that was made, and that was what caused so much of the uproar, because you had whites and yellows, and it looked like a circus.
Yeah, it was different. It was different.
But yeah, we have a lot of love and warm hearts now. As warm as red and orange.
Aha. I see. So Artemis scheduled to lift off at 6:24 tonight.
Correct.
What do you expect to get out of it as someone in the industry?
This is going to be really exciting to report on, because we get a chance to show the next step actually happening, something that has only been talked about for decades. And so to be able to come back and show visually, especially with all of the great, capture video that's going to happen on this mission, imagine being able to fill the dome.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty special. It's going to look a lot better than the old videos we used to see.
Yeah, the technology has improved just a little bit, hasn't it?
Just a touch, just a touch, I would think.
Imagine the 4K coming from there.
Yeah. Well, anyway, listen, tell everybody where the planetarium is located in case they haven't been to downtown Bay City and seen the upside-down popcorn container.
A chicken bucket.
Yeah, that's right. It does look more like a chicken bucket now.
It's so the cone, by the way, is a rocket nozzle shape.
Yes.
So we're in downtown Bay City, the historic part, 100 Center Avenue, right next to Winona Park.
Very good. Well, Mike, it's always fun. We'll have to keep track when the next Artemises go off and all that stuff.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Mike Murray, director of the Delta College Planetarium in Bay City.
This is Dan Streeter, CEO of
All right, our thanks to Mike Murray from Delta Planetarium for being with us. Coming up right after the news, we're going to talk to Shanti Appello from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. We're going to talk about nutritional eating for children. March was National Nutrition Month, so we're a little bit late, but we can still talk about the topic. We'll talk to you then.
Broadcasting from the